You're watching Exit 1055 with your host, Richard Rose.
Hey, good morning. I'm Richard Rose. Welcome to Exit 1055 Long Island. This is your TV 1055 show about all things Long Island. In just a few moments, the call for blood donations this summer goes on, and you'll meet some remarkable folks who are here with us thanks to that. But we begin this morning with the tricky and complicated commute into the city, prompted by emergency repairs at Penn Station on several tracks that will last till Labor Day. Governor Andrew Cuomo warned it would be a summer of hell, but as we've seen so far, it's hardly been that. The summer of heck, as some commuters have told us. An alternative plan that was put together by the MTA has been working pretty well, with commuters diverted onto subway connections in Brooklyn and Queens, and others prompted to take ferries or buses, although those have not been widely used, and the bus service is going to be cut back some. So is the plan working, or did lots of folks just stay home or even take to the roads? And what will happen in the remaining weeks of repairs leading up to Labor Day? To help us answer those questions, we have with us right now Veronica Vanterpool. She is an MTA board member, but also wearing two hats as the commuter advocate, as the executive director of the Tri-State Transportation Campaign. And welcome to the show.
Hi.
So did I sum up that pretty well, or what do you think? How's it gone so far this first week?
On day 5, it's gone pretty well.
Because everybody's like this, from the governor on down.
Yes.
And the new MTA director, Joseph Loda, he must be somewhat relieved that, you know, it hasn't been chaos as everybody feared.
I'm sure he's relieved, but the MTA put a good deal of preparation and discussion into this plan, as did Amtrak. And
Yeah,
when you
get
have
some
that
credit for that.
Yeah, and when you have that level of preparation, as we've seen in the past around winter storms, as we saw around Superstorm Sandy in particular, when you have that level of preparation, generally the outcome's good.
But what do you think? Were our fears overblown? I mean, it was the governor who said it was going to be a summer of hell. Of course, the media jumped all over that, and we all expected that. It was nonstop coverage leading up to it. But really, we haven't seen anything like that. Why is that? Did everybody stay home?
I think a lot of people made contingency plans, particularly during these first 5 days. Many people probably took a vacation this week. Many people may be working from home. People may be staying in the city with friends or family. I think the next 5 weeks are really going to be telling to see how this plays out.
Yeah, come tomorrow, we'll find out if all the people who are on vacation are coming in now and jumping on this alternative commute that we've talked about. Now, for anybody who hasn't paid attention or has been on vacation or out of the country, what is the alternative commute? Explain it to folks who might be thinking about doing it tomorrow.
Well, what the MTA has put into place is a series of other options for commuters who are expecting to come into Penn Station. So what they're doing is telling people to go into Atlantic Terminal in Brooklyn, to go into Hunters Point or Long Island City, and from there they're providing ferry options, free subway transfers, and even bus service on reserved coach buses for passengers coming into Penn.
Yeah, and they've cut back on the buses somewhat, because a lot of them, one person would be on them, or even just the driver going back and forth. And the governor said it was very expensive. So how has that been cut back?
Well, I'm not sure that they've made the cuts yet, but I know that they are talking about doing so. It's very expensive to run an empty bus, but I think having the option available was really key. And passengers knowing and riders knowing that that option was available makes a big difference. Yeah,
and they had said all along that, you know, we'll see how things go and we'll adjust the plan, and that's one of the adjustments. You know, you talked about people going into Brooklyn. I rode the train on Monday with our cameras, and we took a look. And, you know, it was more crowded, but, you know, the MTA had workers there to allow the LIRR riders to get free transfers into the subways. And even though it's not as big as Penn Station, here you see the beginning of my trip. These are folks waiting at the Freeport station on the LIRR, and they had to go into Atlantic Terminal instead of Penn Station. It seemed like that whole system worked fairly well, although you heard some grumbling from the passengers in Brooklyn.
It's going to work well for most of the people, but there's always going to be a few individuals for whom the commute is chaotic or difficult or longer, and we have to obviously recognize that. But I think in terms of a contingency plan that's impacting 10,000 just LIRR riders every single day, not to mention the New Jersey commuters that are impacted, and subway riders who are seeing a little bit of an influx of riders into those stations.
Well, here you see with each passing stop, it got a little bit more crowded, and then it became standing room only, and then finally you get into Brooklyn at the Atlantic Terminal, and people are going, now where do I go? Because these people have never taken the subway before. But they seem to handle it pretty well.
I think so. You know, we are particularly very resilient, especially when we have a lot of information and communication, and that's one thing that has had to be greatly improved, because the MTA has not done the best job in terms of communicating delays and problems and challenges with its customers, and they've done a much better job here, and you see that makes a difference. hours.
Well, and they said this would take maybe 20 minutes longer, and when we went up into the terminal at Penn Station, here you see the folks right there arriving. They told us, yeah, some of them said it was even only a couple of minutes late. So again, we don't know this first week whether it was just less volume, whether we're going to see a different thing coming forward. But we should point out that at Hunter's Point, there were some more problems, because that's an older station with not a lot of capacity. We heard some complaints there. What's going to be done about that?
I'm not sure yet. We'll probably see some other action plans put into place, and next week, weeks 2 through 6, to see how to really address and deal with that. But I think that particular station was not meant to accommodate as many people. It wasn't meant to be a big transfer hub station.
Some people saying, oh, the secret's out. Now they're going to be coming here, but I'm not sure that they will when they see how crowded it is.
Right, I agree.
And, even though our show concentrates on Long Island, there are folks watching us from New Jersey. Thank you very much. Seems like they had a little bit more of a trouble. Why is New Jersey Transit having more problem with this commute than folks coming from Long Island?
The majority of work that Amtrak is doing is what's known in the A interlocking. That's the train sorter. And what it does is it's sorting the trains that are coming from the west into Penn Station. So that directly impacts New Jersey residents or New Jersey commuters coming into Penn Station from the west. So in particular, the Morris and Essex direct line into Penn Station has to be diverted completely into Hoboken. And those customers have to take either path or ferry into Manhattan.
Now, the governor said he's going to devote another $1 billion from state money. Wherever they found $1 billion like that, he's going to give it to the MTA. How's that going to help? Is that money showing up right away?
No. What the governor said is that it will come up in next year's state budget. I'm not sure where the source of that funding is coming from. It's certainly welcome. $1 billion is not enough to address all the issues.
Yeah, especially when they have $38 billion in backlog repairs. Do you think it's going to get done on time? The governor expressing some skepticism still that he's not sure they'll make that Labor Day deadline. What are you hearing?
Amtrak's facing a good deal of pressure from a lot of different parties in 2 states and the federal government to get this work done on time.
Well, they heard it here.
I hope they do.
From Veronica Vanderpool, an MTA board member, and also with the Tri-State Transportation Campaign, which has an eye out for commuters. And thanks for that. Thanks for the update.
Thank you.